Alright guys, and welcome to the 19th episode of Lifting the Lid.
In this episode, expect to find out what the future holds for the British military, why outer space could be a draft for the next generation of Royal Marines.
And how the RAF is planning to be net zero by 2050.
Let's get into it. So this week, as keen listeners will know, we're going to ponder, really, what kind of the British military may look like in decades to come.
Yeah, so you've gone and essentially done some research around what may happen, and we're going to kind of hash it out and give our thoughts and opinions on things as they weren't asked for.
Yeah, it's completely unprompted by everyone. But so I've basically done some digging around kind of like what the MOD's been releasing in terms of like policies and commitments to climate change, etc. And we're going to kind of extrapolate that, try and kind of work out what that could look like.
Yeah,
basically.
And the interest for you is if you are joining the Marines or the military in a certain amount of time, this could be quite pertinent because this could be your life, basically.
Yeah, so if you are in the military or you join in the military, then these are things that kind of like you shouldn't dwell on because obviously they haven't happened yet. So, be present. But if it is your career, then these are things that could happen to you. So, potentially give it some thought or ponder it yourself. Okay, so we're roughly going to break this episode down into 3 different sections. So we've got kind of the role of technology and AI in reshaping the British military. Climate change, obviously, is one of the pressing issues moving into the future.
Yeah.
So kind of how the British military navigates climate change and does its bit in relation to the kind of like the wider government and the national commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And then more kind of less theoretical and more practical, I guess, is kind of new conflict areas that could open up in the future and how you'd go about adapting the military to handle those arenas.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Got you.
And project yourself militarily. But we'll start with technology and AI. So, and this is directly from the MOD. The British military is embracing artificial intelligence and advanced technologies to enhance its battlefield capabilities and ensure future readiness.
What does that mean for
Well,
me?
that's good. It's good that. It's glad I researched it because we can unpack that.
Yeah.
So in terms of AI, I think they're basically implementing AI to make better decisions.
ChatGPT.
Doing the
How should I flank around this position?
You say that, right? So again, this is quoted. AI is being integrated into command and control systems to assist military leaders with rapid decision making in dynamic battlefield environments.
That is 100% what it is. It's fucking a ChatGPT, and they're like, right, I've got someone fucking half right of my axis. What should I do? Basically, that's pretty good. So if they can like train it on years of military strategy.
Yeah, that would be class. Imagine instead of having like radio operators in the field, you have like ChatGPT operators. So instead of being in communication with like high command or whatever and getting orders from them,
You're in comms with a robot.
You're just getting orders from AI.
Yeah. The only issue is,
there's lots of issues there, isn't there? Because you're taking orders from kind of.
Yeah, I mean, obviously AI can be really good, but this is a Rory Sutherlandism, and he said the one thing you can't be in military strategy is logical, because that's obviously what they expect you to do.
AI tends to be quite logic driven, doesn't
correct.
it?
So if you were to just not think about and not use critical thinking, which I'm guessing people would, but you could very easily like just rely on that, couldn't you? And go, I'm just going to do what it says.
Imagine the prompts you'd have to put in for that though. So yeah, so I'm in a foxhole in Western Ukraine, and I'm currently outnumbered 10-1 by Russian Spetsnaz.
It's just not going to work, is it? Because
please provide 3 viable options for me and my
Please
unit.
provide 5 action steps to me to get out of the shit.
Within the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, because I am about to get blown up. It's there like typing little 3 dots. You're like, fuck's sake, sweating. I mean, the main issue there is obviously over-reliance on that, isn't it? I think using it as a tool might probably would be advantageous, but I think it, like with anything, if you were to be too over-reliant on it, it could be an issue because it negates like human creativity
and also responsibility. So it's an interesting one from like a moral and an ethical perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
I guess in terms of kind of like loss of life from your own side in terms of like, well, whose decision was this to kind of like fucking run across a minefield, you know, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And then equally kind of like potential implications for actions that you take on like the enemy, or potentially like if civilians then are involved.
Yeah.
There's no one culpable really, because it's just like this amorphous thing, isn't it?
Unless it's actually doing the stuff, unless it's an actual robot doing it, I think it's still the humans at fault in it. Always.
Yeah, well, this is what's going to be. It's going to be very hard to find a legitimate place for AI in that kind of decision making. I think, really, isn't it? Because it's like, well, how much do you let it
especially
intervene?
in dynamic situations, like it says there.
Yeah, but like, how much do you let it intervene? Like, what role? Like, sure, like the low hanging fruit for AI in the British military is just surely all the sheer amount of admin that they have to do.
Yeah, so just removing
The
So, like,
boring,
you think
the
about-
boring shit, basically.
You think about the manning crisis we've got. We've obviously got a vast amount of people wasted essentially in fucking clerks' jobs and all that shit. Like, you don't need people in those billets really. Use AI for that, and then use those people in other more pressing roles.
It's the same with the NHS, I guess, really, isn't it? Like the British military has quite a good track record of making like on-field battle decisions in the moment, and in the same way that the NHS is renowned for having a lot of good kind of like surgeons and doctors, it's actually kind of like the clunky administration side of the institution that's holding it back.
Yeah.
So AI can actually
Streamline that
a lot.
Yeah.
And then free the actual manpower up to do more productive things.
Manpower intensive.
Yeah, manpower things that rely on kind of like creativity and communication and empathy. Things that AI can't
do. Yeah, yeah. It's that's very true. I mean, if it just was to somehow streamline all the admin stuff, then that should be that could be a priority. I think, because again, there's a lot of wasted, I guess, talent, for want of a better word, in the military, where you're there to collect a fucking paycheck, but you're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
That is affecting the outcome. You're filing fucking people's pay or doing whatever, and AI can very easily do that.
What about AI PTIs? Actually, can then implement proper S&C protocols instead of just thrashing.
Yeah, true. Well, what they could do is it could provide very easy playbooks for the PTIs.
Well, yeah, because like you literally can just kind of ask, especially stuff like that where there's a lot of kind of pre-existing research and literature out there. You can just get it to scan the internet for the latest research around kind of like tactical athletes or whatever, and the best kind of like training protocols to develop their kind of like fitness, and it will just regurgitate a training plan.
And provided you can interpret that and provide and deliver it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? Like,
then you're fine.
You should use AI as a prompt, not as kind of like verbatim. So like, as long as you have enough knowledge to contextualise the answer it gives you and then make it relevant to your situation, then it can be a force for good. If you just copy
it's a bit like any education, really. Like,
yeah.
any information you take on is not always going to be 100% accurate to you in your situation, is it? Yeah. So you have to use a little bit of critical thinking to go, okay, well, I'll take this bit, I will leave that bit out, and I'll kind of make this my own. And the same thing when you get a fucking ChatGPT response or whatever this would be. You have to be able to decipher it, basically, and make it your own. So, and that is where the human aspect comes in, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't just have AI spitting out fucking S&C programs.
So that was the AI side of things, which was a bit more kind of like boring and logistical. This has more kind of like practical, kind of actual battlefield implications. So this is autonomous systems and drones.
You like your drones, don't you?
Well, we're in fairness, in like, air forces, so like the RAF, drones are commonplace and have been for, a couple of decades now. Probably being used back in kind of like Iraq and Afghanistan. But this is kind of like the expansion of that into kind of the army and the navy and stuff.
Yeah.
So the British military is increasing its use of autonomous systems both in the air, sea and on the ground to enhance operational capabilities while reducing risks to human personnel.
Yeah, so this is an obvious benefit, right? You can go places and surveil things that you could have done before, but would have put human life in danger, and would, there's the obvious benefit of having someone or a robot who doesn't need to fucking sleep or be paid or, whatever. There is no human error going on, and they can just sit somewhere and just watch some stuff, or they can actually now deliver lethal force to things as well, which is, like, again, incredible, because that would have before required an actual human to be in proximity, so in range of someone else and in danger or whatever.
Yeah.
And so now you can just do. And actually, I think specialist force, I'm not sure if this is already happening or probably to happen, will carry these like remote drones when they're actually on the ground.
Yeah.
If they've got, maybe a blind spot or somewhere to go in that if they were to take it on would be a little bit more dangerous for them, they can deploy this thing, get a fucking bird's eye view and go, okay, what's going on? Can we now look at the map, because you can see it, and then plan around it.
We've seen this real time in Ukraine, aren't we?
Yeah.
How kind of like drones have been incorporated into that conflict and evolved it, really.
Yeah.
Because they play quite a significant role now in, like you said, it kind of on the ground, soldiers will have access to drones, and be that in kind of like in a surveillance capacity or like a lethal force capacity, because they'll just stick some explosive
some Semtex to it and fucking. Well, the thing is, a lot of people assume that, well, if this can happen, why would you ever have boots on the ground, as in actual personnel?
You need people to occupy territory, don't you?
Well, exactly.
Because if you think about it,
a physical footprint.
Yeah, theoretically, if we use that example, if you remove the people on the ground, what are the drones doing? There's nothing there to monitor or attack.
No.
You need people to occupy physical space, don't you?
Yeah, and it provides an actual physical footprint in the area.
Unless you can replace that also with robots, but then that's a bit Terminator, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. iRobot.
Yeah. But another example of that, so like robots have been used by EOD for years.
True. Yeah, because
if they can get a robot to do it, then that's great, because that immediately removes
one casualty.
Yeah, the bomb disposal technician from harm's way.
And if you can just do it on a little iPad 20 yards away, that's sweet.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously the RAF and other air forces around the world have been using drones for 2 decades, probably. Like initially in like a surveillance capacity.
You got someone sat in fucking Bryce Norton just on Call of Duty.
Legit though, that is it. They use Xbox controllers.
Yeah.
So you've got drones conducting drone attacks in like the Middle East, as in like directly killing people.
Yeah.
And they are actually sat in a shipping container in like Bryce Norton.
I know, it's mad.
The detachment, that's weird actually. I don't know if
that is like Call of Duty.
I don't know if you've spoken about this on the pod, but that is a weird kind of
moral detachment.
Yeah, because it's not even like you're on operational deployment, so you're in the headspace of like,
because you're just going back to your grot.
I could take a life here. Yeah, theoretically you could you're in the UK, basically like still integrated with civilian life. You could, like you said, just go back to your grot, go back to your house on Civvy Street with your family.
Yeah.
And what have you done today at work? Oh, blew up a school in Palestine. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's an awkward one for the dinner table, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, how was work? Yeah, so five confirms today.
I'm going to the Hague next week for indiscriminate targeting of civilian populations. Yeah, not a good day, honey.
Yeah, I'll be away for the next 5 years. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it could definitely remove some of the morality maybe around it, but from an opposite standpoint, it's probably a good. Is that a good thing, because you're not going to have, like, again, that human error aspect of maybe in a situation where the soldier in that situation would be maybe too empathetic and put someone else's life in danger.
Yeah.
So we talked about suicide bombers the other day. Like, if you don't know someone is a danger and you're maybe being, again, just being a little bit too empathetic and not as professional as you should be, because you're emotional and you're a human, then that can potentially put everyone else in danger. Whereas if you're like completely detached from it, and all you've got to do is push a button, then that's going to remove that possibility. So sometimes it can probably make things slightly more accurate, and provided those individuals behind the controller have tactical experience and all that sort of stuff, then it's probably probably a really beneficial thing.
Yeah, I guess it's that balance again about like how far do you lean on the technology? Because there's the army's exploring the use of a robotic tank called the Titan unmanned ground vehicle at the minute, which
cool
is
as fuck.
literally just it's literally like it's like a car like a
Cyber truck.
it's like a normal sized car trailer with tracks
Mm.
bolted onto the side and just a fucking GPMG on that's kind of like remote controlled.
That's mental.
So it just like skurs around the battlefield, and then you're literally
That's not even fair, is
you're
it?
like sat in a trench or whatever with an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
It is like Call of Duty. It is
mad,
real
isn't
life
it?
Call of Duty.
That is mental. That'd be like a 12 kill streak, that, wouldn't
Yeah,
it? That's class.
it's like a movable sentry gun basically.
Yeah.
Trying to think of old kill streaks that it's applicable to.
Like a ground-based chopper gunner.
It's like a mix. Yeah, it is really, isn't it? It's a tracked chopper gunner.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean that's.
But again, that's good because
Absolutely
ordinarily that would have to be like a light reconnaissance vehicle or something in the past, wouldn't it? That has
Yeah.
like 3-4 people.
Yeah, and you got
manning
3 or 4 people, and also you've got to change the crew if they get like out of hours or whatever. You got to change the crew out.
And less
All you got to do is
resources.
give the iPad to some other geezer. Job done.
Less resources,
Carry on.
obviously, because the vehicle itself has to be a lot smaller because it now doesn't have to house like a crew of 4 or 3, and you don't then have to kind of like feed water, house that crew kind of in a dynamic battlefield situation because like they can just be in a shipping container somewhere back from the line.
Yeah, it's all of this stuff just creates more essentially operational effectiveness for less human endangerment.
More bang for buck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
I think the key is you still need individuals on the ground who've had, again, like combative experience to operate these things, because if you haven't had that, you won't know really how effectively to use them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which I think comes back to what we were saying about like it definitely needs to be people directing autonomous systems and drones instead of kind of like AI dictating the human.
Yeah.
It needs to be the opposite way around.
Well, otherwise it becomes like Avatar.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want that. But anyway, that's the serious stuff. Now let's talk about how comical the MOD's pledge to be net zero by 2050 is, and we'll talk about climate change. So, the Ministry of Defence has committed to making its operations net zero by 2050, including all branches of the military.
Yeah. So that's 24 years.
24 years. I mean, it's just a complete kind of like.
It's such a buzzword. That's 2050. Isn't it?
It's an oxymoron because, for lack of a better phrase, like the military is a destructive force in some capacity, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
it blows shit up.
That's literally its job.
So there are a number of ways that kind of like the MOD and the British military are trying to tackle climate change. So we'll go through them. There's 3 that I've picked off. So renewable energy is the low-hanging fruit, obviously. Try and integrate more renewables into existing UK military bases.
Makes sense.
In the UK and overseas. So obviously in places like Cyprus, they can harness solar a lot more readily. Interestingly, they're going down that route in the UK as well, which is good in it as we stare out into the bleak grey sky.
Yeah, with zero solar.
So like Leckensfield, that you have fond memories of.
Yeah, fantastic place.
I think that had the first kind of like trial UK solar farm,
really?
which is about the size of like, what was it? I've got the stat, 8 football pitches.
Wow.
But I think they built it after you were there, so you obviously didn't get to see that in its glory.
Yeah, I mean, in the sunny district of Hull.
Yeah, that was stage 1 of 4 in what the MOD have branded Project Prometheus, apparently, which has got a great...
They love their name stuff fantastically well.
It's great branding, because what it is effectively is just 4 solar farms around the UK.
Project Prometheus.
That's mad, isn't it? It sounds like some rocket ship that's going to take on Mars.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. It's a fucking...
It's just loads of fields.
It's a solar panel in Grimsby.
Yeah, literally, yeah. That's mad. Unreal marketing.
Yeah, so you got renewable energy, pretty dull. I'm trying to think of our other overseas bases, like the Falklands. Wind, probably, in the Falklands.
Yeah, definitely. We know about Ghazn's wind.
Yeah, oh yeah. What about
Wind turbine.
Diego Garcia?
Sun.
son. Mind you, have you heard about that? The Chagos Islands.
No.
We've given them independence now.
Oh, really? So we're going to stop sending people to Diego? The lads will be
Potentially, yeah, it's the best fucking...
That is the best draft going.
It's the best draft.
If you don't know what that is, in the Marines, for some reason, there's like 2 blokes in the Marines, basically. It's really niche draft. It's Diego Garcia. It's just an island, like a paradise island.
It's in the Indian Ocean, isn't it?
Yeah, and essentially, there's a US base there, I think, and your job as a bootneck is to be security when people fly in and get transported to the US base, I think.
Yeah, so I think historically, I think Diego Garcia is within like the Chagos like archipelago, and originally that was a British colony. So we obviously had control of the military base there. Mm-hmm. After the war, I think we kept control and
of the actual island itself.
Yeah, but then we gave the base to the Americans.
Occupation to the Americans.
Which was quite common after the war, because I think for their part that they played in the war, we basically agreed to give them a lot of our kind of overseas operational bases.
Yeah, good deal, really.
Yeah, well for them.
Yeah. So again, if you're the bootneck over there, you're essentially living in the sun, working about 2 hours a day, getting pissed and getting paid extra.
It just seems more of like a ceremonial thing than anything, like a goodwill gesture, doesn't it? But anyway, I don't know whether that may no longer be
fuming
up for grabs in the future.
I'm not rejoining.
No, that's the only thing. It's the only draft you wanted. So yeah, hybrid and electric vehicles again. Going back to what we were talking about, like Battlefield, like you can't be deploying bods in a fucking Honda Civic, can you? No, not a Civic, Prius. Sorry.
No, you can't.
The hybrid.
They must be. They're obviously going to make. Because the thing is, the army use. It's not just like operational vehicles. The army use like normal cars, normal people carriers and shit like that. So
on about.
That's probably what they're talking about.
I think they're on about like fucking
actual civvy vehicles.
Civvy vehicles that would be used on base and camp and stuff. Try and get them.
And even to an extent, like,
and that makes sense to be honest, because the actual journeys you're making in them are just around like
roads,
base. Right? I mean, they're not even on like UK roads. You could have golf carts.
Well, some of them they'll be like, even the hire cars they use, or potentially will be all electric and stuff. And to an extent, even the Land Rovers and stuff like that, snatches and stuff. Like, I'm assuming like there's probably a possibility in the future of those to be electric, but not yet.
I would like to see the development of an all-electric tank though, because that is psychologically, if nothing else, that is the worst way to go if you're the enemy. If you get blown up by like an eco warrior tank that's got like Corbyn written on the side of it, that's low, innit?
Yeah, you got to get the most liberal bloke in the troop to drive that.
Yeah, wearing like a neck scarf.
yeah.
And white leather gloves. Have that.
Yeah, that's and he's just quintessentially British.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, I've just basically described a lot of tank commanders in World War II.
True, but they weren't driving electric ones.
No.
Yeah.
So I think again, there's limitations to this. This is all just a lot of virtue signalling from the MOD. I think.
Correct.
If you think about all the vehicles that they're going to bring into service over the next a lot, I think they're bringing a Challenger 3 diesel engine, an Ajax, some form of kind of like.
It's diesel as well.
Yeah, they're all diesel. Is my point. Yeah. So yeah, they say one thing and then
do the other
thing, because these things
like
take
especially
time.
if you're talking about 2050, you'd have to start that now.
But exactly, these things take time. So like when they agreed to probably build and develop the Challenger 3 or whatever, you're probably talking like a decade ago before these things were on the table. So there's like
it takes forever.
There's a delay in what's said and then what's done, isn't there?
And like these electric tanks and shit probably haven't even entered production yet. And so to say they're going to be fully in for 20 years is mental.
Well, I don't see how you'd produce an electric tank with.
Well,
we just don't have the battery capabilities.
No, and imagine like charging it on. How's that going to work?
Time out, boys.
Yeah.
I'm out of juice.
Mental. Obviously, you can carry a jerry can of fuel.
Yeah, it's a lot more and obviously the entire.
Carry around a Tesla fucking supercharger.
Yeah, all the military infrastructure and ecosystem is entirely kind of evolved for internal combustion, basically, hasn't it? Not electric.
And you have to imagine everything.
All the supply and logistics chain would have to be
a fucking big job that
turned on its head. Yeah, so that's hybrid and electric vehicles, and then finally under the climate change banner is the obvious one of aviation. Because if we think of kind of like civilian aviation being a massive polluter.
I think there is the first. Is it autonomous jet that's going on?
Yeah, so the RAF, to be fair to them,
Yeah.
they get a lot of stick, are probably doing the best in relation to climate change. So I think yeah, they're trying to do a lot of stuff around autonomous flight and stuff.
I think there was a civvy one that was like an actual just normal plane that would fly you to a holiday and stuff. So I imagine if they can do that, obviously they can map it over into a military capacity. But
in 2 years ago, in 2022, the RAF conducted their first flight powered by 100% synthetic fuel, which emits up to 90% less carbon than traditional aviation fuels.
That's a good way of doing it, rather than making it electric.
Yeah, so just find a way to
clean up the fuel.
Yeah, burn clean fuel. Which I imagine like jet fuel and stuff, because of what it's powering, has to be pretty clean anyway. It's not like diesel, is it?
No.
It must burn pretty clean anyway, but
surely
I guess you need a lot of it. That's the thing.
That's what it is. Even if it's like a load cleaner, there's probably fucking X amount more going through. So
yeah,
I'd imagine that probably nets it out. It's a bit like vaping versus smoking.
Yeah. But anyway, the RAF has committed to being the first net zero air force in the world by 2040. So they've really laid down the gauntlet there.
Yeah, they have. And I wouldn't say, from a defence standpoint, that's probably the best race to be winning.
Well, is there anyone out there who is in the RAF? You can tell us how close or far they are away from that target at this moment in time. But in terms of kind of like, again, signalling, it's not the best kind of marketing to put out there to your foes, is it, really?
Yeah, not from a defence standpoint, it's not great, is it?
Yeah.
Because it's just saying our priority now is not security and actually like the actual function of the military. It's to make it as green as possible.
Yeah, you got like North Korea kind of developing like nuclear capabilities, and you got the RAF developing kind of like litter pickers, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? We've got the cleanest airfield.
Yeah, well, who cares? Because
who cares?
Nuked it.
Because it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
It's now vapour in the air.
We just nuked it, and it's now like Chernobyl, so it's no longer that clean.
So I guess it's important to do these things, but do it in the background.
Yeah, don't market
and keep all your big weapons and planes kind of like front and centre of your marketing.
Yeah, because it's all about deterrence, really, isn't it?
Yeah, basically.
And you haven't got much of that if you've got a fully green air force.
No. Okay, so that's two down, one to go, and this is kind of the one where we can potentially ponder the most.
Speculate.
Yeah, so this is kind of like new conflict arenas that will potentially open up as we move further through the 21st century.
Okay.
So I've got two examples, but feel free to chip in with any of yours. Okay. So the first one is the Arctic. We'll stay on Earth initially. So scientists estimate that in kind of 10 or 15 years, in the summer, the Arctic will just be kind of like an open sea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as in like there won't be any ice covering what used to be kind of like the Arctic ice cap.
Yeah, so a new hotbed for naval.
Yeah, so all that ice basically for as long as humans have existed, basically, as long as we've been able to explore it anyway, has covered up a treasure trove of natural resources and stuff. So if that's no longer there, then as far as kind of like nations are concerned, there's a scramble for the Arctic in the same way that there was a scramble for Africa. It's like who can lay claim to all the oil and natural resources that have remained untapped, basically.
And not really a draft you want, that, is it? Because that's cold as fuck.
No.
That's the fucking Marines' job, that.
So, shock, Russia has already said it considers the Arctic waters to be its own. So, that's going to raise a lot of issues.
Fucking lay claim to it.
Well, they love
gobbing off, you've got to stick a flag in it first.
Yeah, well, they have.
Yeah, fair.
So
take it back. Fair play.
I think the Soviet Union... During the Cold War, because obviously Russia does... The majority of Russia... Northern Russia is in the Arctic. Yeah. So I think during the Soviet Union and the Cold War, they did build a lot of Arctic bases. And you think the Falklands is remote. Like, these places are spot.
Imagine that, mate.
They literally only existed because there was a military base there. So I think a lot of them obviously just were abandoned when the Soviet Union collapsed. But Putin, over the course of the past 20 years, knowing you know,
this was going to come about.
Knowing that the Arctic was going to be up for grabs at some point in the future, started to reopen some of them, which is quite interesting.
Imagine going to any of them. That'd be fucking mental, wouldn't it? So
Mate, that is a shit
barren.
graph. That's so bad.
And just like in the middle of fucking hell. That'd feel so isolated.
It's basically a gulag.
Yeah.
It's a Siberian gulag,
Yeah,
but you've got a gun.
It'd be fucking horrendous, that, you know. I would imagine as well, like, they're probably not going to budge on that, are they?
No.
So if it is going to be, like you say, up for grabs and America are going to want to have a little slice, there's going to be some sort of...
But they do reckon there's a shitload of natural resources, and kind of unless we can wean ourselves magically off oil in the next X amount of decades or whatever, people probably are going to want to exploit that.
Well, yeah, 100%. Even just from like a fucking dick swinging perspective, like where you've got the Arctic, well, and eventually when it does become really, really lucrative, when you've got no oil anywhere else, because that's probably going to happen soon, like that'll be the number one source.
It'll be interesting as well, like, geopolitically, because obviously Canada, a lot of northern Canada is in the Arctic. They're not particularly renowned for conflict, are they? In the same way that
they're attached to North America. Though.
Greenland, Scandinavia, all those countries have a direct vested interest in the Arctic, but aren't particularly vocal on the world stage, militarily anyway.
No.
But they probably will lock horns with Russia in the future over that.
That's
because Russia are probably going to be the opposite and be very, very expansionist.
And I wonder who will win.
It will be the US, won't it, and NATO acting on their behalf. Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so.
But but yeah, to make that relevant to you guys, like that kind of underlines the importance of all these. So like the Royal Marines winter warfare training in Norway, all the drafts that you can get sent on to like Estonia, you know, to do like NATO operations and stuff. Yeah. That's all basically geared towards the fact that
that's what it is. It's all been that was all around the the fucking fear that Russia are gonna do something anyway, really, and obviously Norway is geographically kind of close, and so that the presence in Norway is always there as a deterrent anyway. But obviously there's a duality of purpose there where like getting more advanced in your, like you say, winter warfare operations and how you kind of navigate those things in the future supposedly is probably going to be quite useful.
I love all this shit. It's so interesting. Just like pondering how the future could look. I mean, it's ultimately depressing and probably why I'm a nervous wreck, because you just constantly live on edge as to what might happen.
Yeah, I don't know why you're on edge. You're not there.
I'm on the front line.
Fucking fair. You just come back.
I'm not even tier 1 anymore. I'm tier 0. I'm my own 0.
I'm my own tier.
Yeah.
Just you on your own with fucking Putin. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. It's just, at the end of the day, it's speculation, isn't it? And we haven't been actually involved in, like, directly UK, haven't been involved in an actual conflict and really heavily since Afghanistan, have we? So, and there's still loads.
Are we getting skill fade? Well, this is another thing, isn't it?
Maybe.
So I have a conspiracy that the British military always likes to keep its hand in some kind of active conflict, if nothing else, to keep its soldiers.
Yeah, it's free training, isn't it?
Operationally kind
it's
of
not
like
free, but yeah.
Yeah, operationally sharp.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that now for a while, because I think Afghanistan weighed so heavy politically. We had to have that kind of like cooling off period.
Decompression.
But I think we are nearing another skirmish.
Probably, yeah. I don't know, because the opportunity's been there, though, hasn't it? Like, if we wanted to go into Ukraine and help that, we could have done that.
But I think we're always reluctant to do anything directly that could be perceived as hostile towards Russia, because
that's what I'm saying. So
basically,
who else are we going to target?
Yeah, it's basically a precursor for World War III. So we're very. But what we want really is like another colonial war, basically.
Another little Falkland job. Yeah.
So where a much weaker power makes a
grave mistake.
A grave mistake and angers the beast, and then because they acted first, we can then crush them. Yeah. Like, so that's what we need.
That's
really
what we
quick
want.
PR win, effectively.
They're probably less and less possible because our capacity as an armed forces is getting lower and lower.
I don't think we could do the Falklands now. Obviously, I don't operate within the upper echelons of the British military.
Yeah, is that
so,
what you've heard, is it?
so I don't know what our
White
actual
up.
kind of like capabilities are. But it was touch and go as whether we could do it in the 80s. It was 50, it was 50-50. They were trying up until the point whereby they actually landed on Falklands. Like the British government were trying to like hammer out a peace agreement with the Argentinians in America.
Wasn't the Navy quite a big part of that win?
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of the ships, again, this is where it's kind of like such like sliding doors moments and stuff. A lot of the ships that that kind of played pivotal role in the Falklands War were due to be scrapped the following year.
That's mad.
So if it had happened a year later, if the Argentinians had just waited, we wouldn't have been able to fight back because
we'd have had no ships.
Yeah, the aircraft carriers and stuff, like they were due to be scrapped.
That's mental. Yeah, so well, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think there's probably not that many easy wins out there anymore.
No, unfortunately, and we've given up all our colonies now, so it's like you can't really just go and get them back. It's poor sport, that really, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Spoiled child. That's like, well, I want it back now.
I want it back. Yeah, but you gave it away.
You get too late.
Too late.
You're doing better with us anyway. So they probably really weren't. But yeah, so we got on a tangent there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Let's bring it back. So we've done the Arctic. That's on Earth. Let's go outside of Earth now. Space.
Right, fucking Elon Musk.
Yeah, well, I'm not one of these people that grew up obsessed with planets and stuff. I didn't fucking rim Brian Cox. So my interest is firmly on I'm a land-based mammal.
You don't even like the ocean, you.
Don't like the sea. Not arsed about the air. I'm firmly kind of like solid ground. Kind of. That's my scope. So
dry ground.
And again, you can't really have too much interest in this from a British perspective because we've never really competed in space with Russia or America. And I think a lot of the stuff that the MOD is saying about space is virtue signalling, really.
Yeah, it's trying to stay up there with America, innit?
Yeah. So we've got a space command, whatever that fucking means, which is like a tri-service command, which like RAF, Navy. Fuck knows what the Navy are doing in space.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
That's bollocks, isn't it?
That is bollocks. They've got a free fucking win there.
Yeah, that's it. If you unpack that, someone's got a fucking good gig out of that, haven't they? Someone who's fed up on being on ship.
Gets to go to space.
Yeah, so anyway, so the UK Space Command was set up, I don't know when it was set up, a few years ago officially probably, and it's based out of RAF High Wycombe, which is synonymous with space travel.
Yeah. Well known for it, really.
Yeah, well, obviously the Apollo 11 moon landings famously did take off from High Wycombe.
Yeah. I think Elon Musk does have a house there.
Yeah, well, if he knows what's good for him, he will, because the UK Spaceman's going places,
That's
mate.
the thing, yeah. He's got his fingers in all the pies.
So, again, this is from their website. UK Space Command's mission is to protect and defend UK and allied interests in, from, and to space.
That's very ambiguous, isn't it?
Well, they've said nothing there, haven't they, really? Like, what is space?
Yeah. And
define
from
space.
Yeah. Who's attacking from space?
This is space.
True.
The space that we occupy now is space.
Outer space is what they mean.
And what are the interests? Because I'm glad that they've mentioned allied interests, because if it was UK interests, there are no interests.
Zero. Yeah. It's easy to protect that.
Probably a satellite we put up there in the 80s.
It's quite easy to protect zero interest, isn't it? You don't have to do it.
Yeah, they've squared this. They should have actually omitted the allied bit.
Yeah,
and just put our own interests, and then that's the perfect job. You really have got the best gig then.
Especially if you're in the Navy, because that's fucking zero.
Yeah, so you're in the Navy, and your job is to protect the UK interest in space, which doesn't exist.
Yeah, so you basically put your feet up and make them wet.
Which is arguably what they do anyway. But
yeah, true. At least they'll actually be doing their job doing that this time.
Yeah. So make of that what you will. What if you got drafted to space? So let's role play. You're in the Marines still, and your draft in 20 years' time. You come into the end of your career. Is you're gonna man the first Royal Marine garrison on Mars?
That'd be great. Imagine fucking
like the Martian. Your mission isn't to protect any land, it's actually to grow a potato. On Mars. Yeah,
that's a 6-month deployment.
No patrols. Yeah. No combat. Your sole purpose for a 6-month deployment is to grow an edible potato.
It'd probably still fail that, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be quite good, cause especially if it's a super unique fucking thing to do. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen. So, even in 20 years.
Well, let's be honest. If current trends continue, if anyone's going to be exploring space in the near future, it's not the UK, is it? It's going to be America.
Especially like near future, and then 20 years is quite close as well.
Yeah, I'm more than happy for us to. I'm more than happy for us to assist Elon Musk in projecting himself into space and then leaving him there for eternity. I'm on board with that. I'm happy for taxpayers' money to get funneled into that project.
Yeah.
Because I think it is of significant national interest that he is
Well, I don't know, like Elon Musk.
sent to the wider perimeter of the Milky Way and left to rot.
I think he's great. He's a fucking creative genius.
But there's so much creativity to be explored in the wider Milky Way, isn't there? So I think he's wasted because he's done so much creative stuff here. It's our
duty to deploy him into.
Yeah, it's our duty to spread that creativity to say kind of Jupiter or Pluto potentially, because that's even further away.
Yeah, see what he can come up with there.
Yeah,
see if he can have Tesla superchargers all around Pluto.
Yeah, and if he's creative enough to circumnavigate his way back to Earth from Pluto, then I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But if not, then
yeah, I can't imagine.
I must stress he should stay there.
Yeah, I can't imagine Cybertruck's quite got that capability yet.
No,
but don't put it past him.
If you listen to Twitter and all the people that rim him, you think they would.
Yeah, don't put it past him. He can do anything. But
yeah, that's what I've got basically. So
it looks like we're gonna be fighting wars in the Arctic and space then. So pretty bleak.
in electric vehicles, guided by ChatGPT. So if you are thinking of joining up and you're pondering what could a career in the
get yourself on ChatGPT to prepare.
Yeah, forget all the stuff we've said about physical prep for the past kind of like 18 months. Because you're not going to need any of that. You're going to be sat in an air-conditioned shipping container with an Xbox controller. So double down on the dominoes. Get yourself the latest consoles.
Make sure you're 10th Prestige 70 on Call of Duty.
Yeah, the new standards actually for kind of like Royal Marine joiners isn't kind of like a sub like 21-minute 5k. Yeah. It's actually like how many nukes have you got in Modern Warfare? Have you got gold camo?
What's your kill death ratio?
What's your KD? They're going to ask you that in the interview, so you want to make sure that's got at least that. 3+.
Yeah.
You want a 3-1 really.
Oh, I do miss playing COD.
I was thinking this yesterday. Actually, I've always given video games a bad name recently, but I was
coming full circle.
Wondering if it would help me unwind, because I did used to get so absorbed in it. You know, because a lot of the time now,
isn't it quite like stressful in itself?
Oh yeah, but then I did think this, that a lot of my game time was it was GTA and Call of Duty, so I'd have to find a video game that was like
like Sims.
Like or Minecraft or something, but at that point you're just a gimp, aren't you? So
I don't think that carries the enjoyment that the others do. So I don't think it wouldn't be as immersive anyway.
I think you can play those games without skyrocketing your cortisol levels, but I don't think you could play on. So you couldn't play Call of Duty online, but you could do campaign missions because they're funny. True.
But I don't think, again, I wouldn't get as immersed in that. I wouldn't be like...
Well, it's not as immersive, is it? Because you're not playing against other people.
I still think it's probably a good way to detach. Maybe not, like, unwind is maybe the wrong word, but, like...
That's what I mean.
It's escapism, is it? It's ultimate escapism.
To get out your own head, basically.
Yeah.
So I haven't really filled that void since I stopped drinking.
Right, yeah. It's more productive than that, provided you don't get fully fucking obsessed, because that's the issue. I even get this with fucking Netflix series sometimes. I don't really sink into Netflix too much, but if I get something that I like, I'm useless. I'm fucking dead to the world.
It's about setting boundaries for yourself, I guess.
Which is so hard.
We tried to do it in the past and failed.
Inherently difficult with fucking consoles, but because it's so like it basically feeds all of your needs as a fucking human, like progression, status, like a bit of dopamine, challenge, all these kind of stuff. Yeah, it's mad. You can literally exist in one little thing and have everything served. Yeah, it's are you gonna have a little fucking dabble, are you?
No, I don't think so. I literally just thought this. It's not something I've given much thought. I just on my walk the other day, I was thinking, I wonder if playing like video games a bit would help me. Maybe
like because you're more mature now, you wouldn't get quite as absorbed.
Yeah, potentially. I think I think I'd give myself a more hard time now if I thought I was wasting time on video games. I'd self-policing.
Yeah. Well, James Smith does it quite famously
Yeah.
to that exact reason where he's like, I'm going to switch off, I'm going to have a bit of time in the evening where I'm just going to play, whatever.
Yeah. Watch this space. It might happen.
Yeah, Ed's going to be fucking the next Twitch stream gamer.
Yeah, that would be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But
Right.
anyway, that is the end of this episode, and that brings our batch cook to a close.
To an end. Yeah, that's like 5 this week, isn't it? 4 this week.
4.
Yeah.
We've done well. It's a record.
Yeah, we've done well this week.
So I actually, I will see you before our next batch cook is due. To be fair, so I don't think there shouldn't be a
Interlude.
There shouldn't be an interlude between the next uploads. So we should be sound. What they look like remains to be seen. But
It is about 4 weeks away. So.
it is about a month.
We don't
away,
plan
so-
that far ahead.
Yeah, we definitely don't.
But yeah, thank you for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed that pondering of the future of the British Armed Forces and beyond.
Yeah, and if you got any predictions, then let us know. Put them in the comments.
Yeah.
Get your Mystic Meg hat on. Let us know what you think.
There's no
Or
way.
if you're an insider, you sit in the top brass. Give away all of our national secrets in the comments.
Yeah, in the comments because no one reads.
That'd be great for the algorithm. So
yeah. No one reads them anyway, so it's fine.
yeah,
And if you've got any insight into whether we're going back to just like Afghanistan, 'cause that's probably the next thing. Probably just end up, we can't get involved with Russia, so Afghan's gone to shit again. Let's go for that.
Yeah, we need something to sharpen our teeth on.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's go blow up a load of farmers again.
Yeah, at great expense and
then get blown up
human
by them in
cost.
return.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.